Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to No Bullshipping with Hope White. Oh, wow. What a week we've had. We're coming back off of Thanksgiving. I know you're full. I definitely am. If you're like me, you might be traveling a little bit. So we definitely appreciate you tuning in with us this morning on No Bullshipping with Hope White. Today's guest, I met this young lady just under a week ago. I came across her IG profile and thought it was very important what she does in her entity of services for small businesses, understanding how we need to structure our business. So today's guest is none other than Miss Emily Bradford of WedLawk out of Oklahoma, I believe. And if I said that wrong, Emily, please correct me because we like to
Hey,
talk about Oklahoma.
everyone. I'm so excited to be a part of today's episode, and thank you so much, Hope, for this opportunity. I am my firm is based out of Houston, but I service clients nationwide. I'm currently in Oklahoma traveling for the holidays.
Okay. So we're all traveling because I'm also in Florida with my family for Thanksgiving. So we got a little awkward studio here, but we're going to make it work.
Okay, I'm right there with you.
So without further ado, Emily, please tell us who you are, what's your firm, and what services do you all provide?
Sure. So, as you've stated, my name is Emily E.G. Bradford, Esquire. I am currently in Houston, Texas, originally from Oklahoma. I started Wedlock. I launched it the end of March, beginning of April, and we provide services in the fields of business law, intellectual property,
Mhm. Okay.
with trademark, copyright, your trade secrets, as well as employment law.
Okay. And since you've been doing this, about how many businesses have you had the opportunity to help thus far?
So since April, I think I'm at 39 clients as of now. So I'm very grateful.
All right. So we're moving pretty quickly here.
Yeah, we are. Very good thing. I'm very, like I said, I'm just grateful.
You're just grateful. Okay.
People that have a better understanding of how to launch, operate a successful business.
Yeah. So I came to you. I didn't tell you. I don't think you asked me when we first did our initial consult because we were just so excited
Right.
to speak with each other. But I found you through one of your husband's video about paying the bills in the house.
Oh, did you?
I thought that was
Yeah,
so funny.
you would not be the only one. Yeah. So I think that did you have questions about that before I get to talking?
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So, yeah, I realized that, like in launching my own business, it's important to me to brand my business according
Yes.
to my desires,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so for the longest time, I would say in working in corporate America, I felt very limited and restricted in the content in which I could post, and
Right.
I love my husband. He is so goofy. He been since the day that I met him, and that's why I fell in love with him. But
Yes.
I've never posted like the private side of our life, and
Yes.
so I did that, and yeah, it went viral.
It blew up.
Yeah, that was his first video, and so girl, now he's like, oh, I'm famous. I'm like, baby, sit down. You are not.
well, listen, I'm thankful you all did it because I was on my late night scroll one night and I said, oh wow. Then I just kept going. I got to you and I said, perfect. You
Yeah.
have been exactly who I've been looking for.
Well,
So
I
tell
go
so,
ahead.
so tell us about your three main services you offer there for small businesses surrounding structure.
Okay, sure. So my goal here is to take a small business from launching, okay,
Mhm.
up until they start to grow, and fees and things of that sort. So it's really tailored like startup business law. Okay, you need help with selecting your entity type, registering
Mhm.
your business with your
Yeah.
respective Secretary of State, ensuring that you have the proper licensing and things of that sort. Then I also help on the business side with drafting custom business agreements. Okay, so not uncommon that you'll have service contracts that you need, or if you provide products, sales contracts. I do contract disputes. Like a lot of times people are like, hey, they haven't paid me. What are my options? What can I do? I go in and resolve those things on the business side. And then also business, if my small business owners ever get sued or
Okay.
they need to send a demand, I follow them through with that process as well. So aside from the business, you have intellectual property, which is a facet of your business, right? And so I help with advising on the difference between trademarks, copyrights, patents, even though I don't do patent work, and then trade secrets as well. And then different, depending on, what your business has, then
Yes.
we could talk about registration, or if you need to implement certain agreements to protect those IP rights. And then once we've got that in place and your business actually starts to grow and you staff it with more employees,
Yeah.
I also offer employment services. So if Hope had a question like, hey, I have an employee that is pregnant that needs to take leave, like what do I do? Those are questions that you bring to me and I help guide you through them. Or if you get sued, it's like, hey, we just received an EOC charge of discrimination. What does this mean?
Right.
Through that process and defending against it. I'm really a business defense attorney. That's what I've been for the past 6 years.
Oh, I love it. I need you. and we're gonna and we're gonna get into why I need you in a few moments. Let me tell some of our viewers hello, because we have a lot of people on this morning. Emily, want to check in here with Rob Johnson. Hey, Rob, you're in Mount Juliet, Tennessee today. Are we visiting family? We have Maddie Faison out of Dublin. Joseph, he says greetings from Kenya. Hi, good morning, Joseph. Yolanda out of Dublin, Georgia. We have Tirso from Guatemala, the land of eternal spring, she says. We have Zenergy Holistics. We have Sarah checking in with us. Hi, Sarah. That's my bestie. And then we also have Kristen Allen, Ask Shay out of South Africa. Okay, we got a few viewers from South Africa this morning.
Awesome.
Awesome. So, Emily, those services that you mentioned, especially around the demand letters, why I thought it might be important to get you on as a guest is because in logistics and supply chain, especially on the drayage side, there's a lot of demand letters that is either being received or sent out. And so, can you tell us about the importance of timeliness when responding to those demand letters?
Sure. I mean, if I'm drafting a demand letter, I'm always going to put, a response date like, hey, we expect you to respond by this date.
Yeah.
However, if you receive a demands letter, oftentimes it's not uncommon for you to ignore the first one or two. I
Yeah.
know it sounds bad, but perhaps they don't have an attorney and they don't know what to do. So by the time you get it, it's like either, hey, the response date is like tomorrow.
Yeah.
What I do is I just advise opposing counsel, hey, I've been retained on this matter. Please give me, 3 to 5 days to get up to speed and I'll get you a response back. Generally, if my client receives a cease and desist letter, my first step is assessing its validity. So
Yes.
looking at the actual demand, I'm looking at what exactly are they asking for? What rights are they saying that they have? Are they contractual? Are they, common law rights? And what are my client's defenses? Now, if I believe that, hey, there's validity to this, then I'm going to have that difficult conversation with my client and say, look, we've got to make some changes here. If, like I've reviewed it and I'm like, this is bogus, or no, we have some solid defenses, then I'm going to say, hey, these are your defenses. It's your call. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I definitely think that is very important with you walking through that process with your clients, because in drayage, and I'm not ashamed to say it, baby, we getting demand letters left and right.
Oh, and we can certainly, happy to help you with those for sure.
Right, and the reason being is just the nature of our business. It's not oftentimes our problem necessarily up front, but just how our cash flows with our clients, and that has not been a secret as well, where we are time out with our bills before we actually can pay them on time.
So what are the demand letters? Is it that, hey, you've breached a contract that you need to pay this, or?
they're typically demand for payments with this side of the business. So in the ocean world, and we don't have time to go in there, but mostly, yeah.
I've done OSHA defense, so go for it.
Yeah, also in the ocean cargo world, typically when you pull containers or chassis or whatever, there's a bill that's billed to you, the carrier, as your responsibility until your client pays you back. So
Mm-hmm.
those bills can get pretty hefty fairly quickly.
Right.
And so often your clients need a little bit more time or very delayed in paying those bills. And as a result, you as the carrier receive legal demand letters
Right.
pressing on that payment because we are oftentimes waiting until we receive those monies before we pay that bill.
Right. Well, I will hope
Yeah.
I would look at the master agreement between you and that original party to see exactly what the terms are in terms
Yeah.
of payment. Are you, as a business, responsible to continue to pay those payments despite
Yes,
your?
we definitely are, but did we try to work around it a little bit? We definitely are responsible for those bills up front, because baby, that'll take a
I,
hit in the cash flow.
I know, but no, I think that's important for other, businesses maybe that are on the call as well. Is your first line of defense as a business is your contracts. Like,
Yes.
you have to make sure your legal documents that spell
Mhm.
out the terms and conditions of your
Yes.
payment or your
Yes.
price or indemnification, confidentiality, all of these things need to be included in a service agreement.
Yes. Yes.
Very well be what keeps your business standing or it crumbling to the ground. So
Um,
sounds like if you've got a lot of these demands and you're still going, you're doing something right. I
well, we know how to shake a little
yeah,
bit. We know how to shake a little bit. So getting back to your agreements here, what's your top agreement? Now, Emily, I know you're like, what is going on? Because I sent you a list of questions, but I'm on vacation and their emails ain't popping up. So we're going to go on.
no, that's totally fine. I think that sometimes I prefer you to just ask me questions so that
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
authenticity of the response. But go ahead.
So your first top agreement that you recommended for me, myself, it was so helpful. The employee contracts. Can you talk about what those look like in real time for a small business owner, and maybe possibly not give your pricing, but understand the affordability of protecting yourself?
Yeah. So, Hope, before I dive into what I recommended for you, I want to say this that each business may be at different phases of where they are. Okay. So, what may be good for you may not be recommended for someone else.
Right.
I were to have to recommend, a business document that every business should have in place, regardless
Yeah.
size. You
Yeah.
want to make sure that you have your operating agreement if you're an LLC, and you want to make sure that you have your bylaws if you're a corporation. That
Mhm.
is your governing document. And I know you probably have this, but I had a consult, last week where they're like, "What is this?" And it's
Yeah.
like, you've got
Yeah.
to have this in place.
Yes.
So, do you know why an operating agreement is so important from a legal sense?
Yeah, I from a legal stance, I've understood it to be, and you correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
understanding where everyone's roles and responsibilities are in the company from a legal standpoint.
Yes. So in practice, like that sounds good, but in
Mhm.
practice, what does that mean? Right.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Oftentimes people form, limited liability
Yeah.
companies, corporations to relieve them of personal liability should the business get sued, right? That's the whole point of limited liability.
Right.
So generally what happens is if someone gets injured at your workplace or if something goes wrong, and they sue your business and your business doesn't have the money,
Hmm.
what they do is they argue a doctrine, what's called piercing the corporate veil. So
Hmm.
what they're essentially doing is they're saying,
Yeah.
asking the court to say, Your Honor, even though the business doesn't have anything, and I know that the general rule is that they're protected from liability, I'm going to ask you to pierce this corporate veil and
Yeah.
attach directly, like personally liable,
Hmm.
because they're disregarding their business, right?
Hmm.
Not treating their business as a separate entity. So, what do courts look at? The first thing they're going to look at is to see if you have an operating agreement in place.
Right.
That's
Right.
the legal significance of having documents like that in place. If that plaintiff were able to show that you don't have an operating agreement, you're commingling funds, you're not having your meeting minutes, the
Not commingling funds.
what? Yeah, that's a real thing. Courts assess those things, right?
Yeah,
And
I know.
treating this as an actual business or
Yes.
just an extension of you as a person. That's what sole props are for. But when you go
Yeah.
to business, so that's one document for sure that I would recommend for any business.
Any small
Okay.
business or any
I
business.
Yeah, correct. Now I spoke with you about employment agreements and independent contractor agreements
Yes.
because you are actually an employer that has staffed those types of positions.
Yes, that's great.
Those are also very essential for any business owner that actually utilizes independent contractors or
Mhm.
has employees. An independent contractor agreement is important for a couple of reasons.
Mhm.
One, it's going to establish the relationship with whoever the independent contractor is, making it clear that, hey, you are independent from this business, meaning you should not be getting benefits.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be wearing like company logo.
Company shirts.
Yeah, things like that, right? You have,
I'll tell you why I'm laughing in a minute.
oh, okay. So listen, the reason why is because, again, let's say you have a driver and a
Hmm.
driver, gets involved in a car accident and
Yeah.
your business. Now, this person is an independent contractor,
Yeah.
okay? So
Hmm.
your first line of defense is no, our business is not liable because they were not an employee. They were not
Yes.
the scope of their employment. Of
Yeah.
course, they're going to come back and try to argue like, no, they're an employee because you don't have an IC agreement. You're
Yeah.
like an employee. They're wearing your logos. What does it look like for an average person? Do they perceive them to be an employee or an independent contractor? Right.
Independent contractor. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
just having that agreement in place, non-disclosure of your, proprietary confidential information.
Yes. Hmm.
Business has it. You have customer lists, you have pricing, you have advertising methods. All of those things are your proprietary information for your
Yes.
business.
Hmm.
And the most affordable way to protect that, aside from, registering trademarks and copyrights, is implementing a confidentiality policy in your independent contractor agreements,
Agreements. Yeah.
well as your employment agreements. Now, on the flip side, your employment agreements are going to spell out the terms and conditions of the employment, right?
Hmm.
It's here's your offer amount, here's what you're going to be making, you're exempt, non-exempt, here's your pay method and structure and things of that sort, and the expectations that you have for them. Whether it's an IC or employment agreement, you want to make sure both have the NDA, the non-disclosure agreement.
Okay.
As
Okay.
a lot of times, Hope, I know you're more established, but I have like a lot of small businesses that like to use their family, right?
Yeah, so in our business,
Yeah.
definitely want to jump in here. If you have any questions or comments for Emily and I, put them over here in the chat section because this is gonna be a good one here. We got to keep going with this conversation.
Oh, sorry.
Definitely in trucking and logistics, right there where you are.
Hmm.
When we start our companies up, that's the first thing we do. We lean to family and close friends to pull them in on business, and then are caught off guard in the event that there is a lawsuit or unemployment claim because we thought family and friends, we don't have to have any type of protection there. So you just definitely hit a spot there. The reason why I was laughing is because when we have independent contractors in trucking, especially our own operators, we say, oh, well, they're fine. They got their own company. They got their own scat code. They have their own placards on the truck, their own LLC. I'm covered. But you're specifically saying, no, you got to identify exactly where they are ICs and don't have them mixing and mingling with your company's information.
Correct.
Mhm.
Independent, contractors have to be treated as such. And generally, the courts having an independent contractor agreement is important, but it's not the only factor that courts assess when determining whether or not someone is in fact an independent contractor.
Mhm.
So even I mentioned earlier that other people may sue based off of an independent contractor's
Yeah.
maybe their negligence. It's
Yeah.
not. I actually just resolved a case before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals regarding an independent contractor claiming that they were misclassified as an employee. And
Oh,
this
wow.
body that made 200 plus thousand a year, right? So
Right.
like, oh, if they pay them that much, then they're an independent contractor and they can't be entitled to overtime. That's not
Yeah.
how, of course, we won,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
was classified as an independent contractor,
Yeah.
misclassification, but it doesn't stop them from arguing that, as well. So I
Yeah.
guess to your question, Hope, when it comes to, I don't care if they're family, I don't care if they're friends. If you're staffing as an independent contractor, you need to make sure you have an agreement in place, and you
Yeah.
need to make sure that your practices, the way that you're treating them, do they have the ability to reject certain projects?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, they don't. I need you to run this low.
Right.
No, you
So
gotta work.
it's really, the courts are looking at control. Are you
Yeah.
controlling their pay, their work schedule, their ability to work for another
Yeah.
company? That's a no-no. An
Yeah.
independent contractor agreement should never have a non-compete.
Never have an uncareer. Okay. So let's pivot there.
Right.
So when you have your ICs on, of course, they're in your company, in your brand. Can we
Mhm.
talk about trademarking
Yeah.
and protecting your intellectual property there?
Yes. So I will say it, most people don't understand what their IP property is. Okay.
Mhm.
They don't get the value in it. They don't understand, the processes, and that's okay. Like I've created content that's out there, and I'll share that, with you all later.
Mhm.
But I say that in your bucket of intellectual property for your business, you do have what's called trademarks. Okay.
Mhm.
That deals with your brand name, your logo, anything that's a source indicator for your business. That is the sole purpose of a trademark. If I see a Nike swoosh, I know that's Nike.
I know that's Nike. That's right.
That's their logo design. If I see the words Nike, I know that's Nike. Or
That's right.
if you get Cane's chicken, I'll have it, down there. But
Right.
that trademark is for those that create content. If you're an author, if you're doing training manuals like yourself for your business, if you're a
Mhm.
photographer, filmmaker, things of that sort, then you want to copyright your content. Okay.
Yes.
And then aside from that, you have your patents, which are
Yes.
like inventions. I
Yeah.
recommend a patent attorney. I don't do patent work. And
Yeah.
then your proprietary trade secret, information. So in terms of trademarking, yes, I strongly recommend that you trademark if you can, because it can get costly. And that's why we'll get into my pricing a little bit later, how I've made it a point as a business to make it more affordable for small business owners. But trademarking, yeah, your brand name, logo, and or catchphrase, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because we as small businesses do a lot of work creating that brand, thinking of a brand that sticks out, stands out, and
Well,
gives us that extra oomph.
yeah. Well, here's the thing, Hope. Before you do all of that, I always recommend to my clients, before you ever start branding your business, the first thing that you should do before you even file your business is do a name availability search and
Yep.
a search,
Yep.
because you can spend thousands and thousands
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
dollars building
Yeah.
and branding your business, and then
Yes.
you send a desist letter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're,
Yeah.
you're infringing on someone's
Yeah. I
mark.
definitely. Yeah.
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 We got an important question here. Just jumped in. Sarah says, "What is the best course of action when you see someone using your trademark?" Oh, that's a good one.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing, in your cease and desist, you give them a certain time frame to stop, because you are entitled, if someone is in fact infringing on your trademark, you are
Yeah.
entitled to whatever profits that they've made from that infringement. So
Yeah.
the first course of action is sending a demands letter, like saying, hey, you need to cease and desist what you're doing. And
Yeah.
don't by that timeline, then we move into injunction. Hey,
Yeah.
we're filing a application for injunctive relief, where we're asking the court to come in and stop them from doing
Immediately.
what they're doing right now. At least
Okay.
you can get a permanent injunction, because that's a really fast, like, you can go down to the court, get it like that. It stops them for 14 days. I know
Immediately.
Texas, I'll have to look in, different states, but
Yeah.
it's actually very similar.
So
You can
first course of action is cease and desist.
assist. Second is your TRO, your temporary restraining order.
Okay.
Okay. And then if you succeed on that, then you continue with the lawsuit for the actual infringement.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we have another question over here because they're coming in now. Let's go.
Okay.
Coming in from YouTube, Project Wednesday says, having a drive that's not an employee with benefits. I guess he's saying driver,
Uh-huh.
but drives a truck you own and under your insurance. How can you be protected?
Let me
So if
read.
you have a company driver, this is more on the company side,
Yeah.
protecting yourself with a company driver for your intellectual property.
Oh, intellectual property. I
Yeah,
don't.
or so let me just break it down a little bit more. So in our small businesses, sometimes our company drivers come in and do just enough work and learn enough about our customers that they go start their own entity with another truck, their own truck, and like basically try to take our client. So I think that's more around the question they're asking.
No non-compete agreement, but you certainly should have a non-solicitation agreement. Okay.
Okay.
Like if these independent contractors are coming in, they see how you're doing your business. That's why it's important to have your confidentiality, non-disclosure, and for independent contractors, a non-solicitation, because that's going to prohibit them from taking your employees, and that's
Mhm.
going to prohibit them from taking your customers. And
Yes.
do that, then that's when we can send a cease and desist. If they don't comply with that, that's when we file the lawsuit.
Okay. And Brittany Grayson says, at what point in your business did you start getting trademarks and patents?
In my business or for
Or when you start your business as a small business owner, at which point should you start it immediately once you obtain your logo, or should you wait?
I recommend if you can afford it, let's be realistic because a lot of small business owners are on shoestring budgets. Okay. So,
Girl, rice budget,
right. Okay. Like, ramen noodle budget. So
ramen noodle budget, right here.
so listen, but no, if you can afford it in the beginning, that's when I strongly recommend it, because here's the thing,
Yeah,
trademark first come, first serve basis.
absolutely.
So whoever starts using the mark first, they're entitled to the priority rights.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Not
getting
to think that you can't. Here's the thing, you don't have to register. I know this is going to sound odd. You don't have to register a trademark on a federal level. Here's the thing though, you have
oh,
common law rights in a trademark, all
okay.
right, but those
Okay.
common law rights are limited to your geographic area. So like
Okay.
you are in, Atlanta, Georgia, it's just there in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you see somebody using your trademark in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
you're not going to have any right to enforce it against them.
Oh,
So
wow.
register it on a federal level because it protects you across the
Across
United
the United States.
States.
Okay. So we have 4 minutes left. And Emily, I'm going to be honest. In my spirit, I feel like we need to come back and do a part two at the first of the year to get businesses started, because everybody wants to start a business at the first year, and I think we have so much more to discuss.
Oh, yes, 100%. I'm happy to join you.
So awesome. So definitely tell us here, how can we find you? Where do we come do a consult? Because I'm sure there are quite a few businesses over here in the chat section that
Yeah.
definitely need a consult with Emily.
Yes, so you can visit our website at www.wedlawk. That's LAW. That's .com. So that's my website. Instagram, it's WedLawk. Facebook, it's WedLawk. You can book a consultation on our contact page. We have a free 15-minute consultation, and then
Yeah.
have a paid consultation option as well.
Yeah, I skipped the free. I was like, baby, I need your good time. Let me go.
So I get it.
Let me pay for that right now, because I definitely seen the value in your services. I'm so appreciative of you wanting to educate the masses, especially small businesses, with legal structure and protecting themselves. Over in the comment section, they're definitely chanting for a part two. Yes, ma'am. They want a part two.
Bear with me. This is honestly, I've never used this feature before, so I don't know how to look at the chats. But
So over on the right hand side where it says comments, in
okay.
there they're saying part two. So the documents that are needed are, Tanza, you can go back and review this on YouTube. The video will be up after the show, and you definitely can catch it there. What other platforms can we find you on, Emily, besides your website?
Instagram and Facebook. That's
Okay.
what I think. I have a LinkedIn, but I haven't updated it since I was at my old firm. So just so you all know, I'm not new to this. Okay. I practiced big law for 5 years before I
Yeah.
started my own practice. So, yeah, I did it primarily because in working for big law, we're kind of limited on servicing small businesses
Yes.
because we don't have a big book. Like
Yeah.
the book is not big enough for big law. And so I
Absolutely.
was running into, issues because I had like a lot of friends that have started their businesses, and
Yeah.
unfortunately I couldn't service them
Yeah.
because they couldn't afford it.
Couldn't afford it. Yeah. Well, definitely at WedLawk, you've created that. And I just want to take this time and thank you so much, Emily.
You
I can't I can't wait to talk to you in January, because I know we're gonna have a lot more to discuss.
Yes, yes, I think that would be great. And maybe we do periodic, check-ins for you and our viewers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I would love that.
Okay, sounds great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Emily. I won't hold up any more of your day. You definitely enjoy your family.
Thank you. You too. Bye, everyone. I look forward to hearing from any of you that have questions. I do not bite, but I am a very open and transparent attorney. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Add this.